bars why a man convicted in a drunk driving crash is returning to prison. Marquis Downs on track to be demolished. And who is Saskatchewan's newest millionaire?
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. A Saskatchewan man at the center of a drunk driving crash that killed a couple and injured a child is back behind bars. CTV's Laura Woodward now on why the parole board revoked his release.
39-year-old Tyler Seeley is back in prison. The Parole Board of Canada deciding he hasn't made changes to his life and poses a risk to society. In 2020, Seeley veered into oncoming traffic on Highway 41 and crashed into a truck. Marjorie Klassen and her husband Gord Klassen were killed. Seeley's 4-year-old daughter, riding in the back seat, broke her arms and suffered a head injury. Later that year, Seeley was convicted for impaired driving and handed a prison sentence of just over 5 years. He was granted statutory release last January. This summer, Seeley was reported at a liquor store, a violation of his release conditions. A drug test came back positive for meth and cocaine. Officers could not find Seeley at the location where he was supposed to be staying, according to the parole board. He was ordered to turn himself in, but didn't report to police until 2 days later. Seeley told officers he had used the drugs during a celebration of life. The parole board decided to send Seeley back behind bars. With his statutory release revoked, Seeley will remain in prison for the remainder of his sentence unless the parole board approves a new application where Seeley would need to show meaningful change and prove he's not a risk to public safety. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Police are advising today that a highway where a woman was fatally shot last week near Weyburn will be closed for most of the evening. RCMP said earlier today that Highway 39 would be closed northwest of Weyburn until about 9 o'clock tonight. The closure is related to the shooting investigation, with investigators working on the scene. Drivers were asked to slow down in the area and follow instructions. On the night of September 12th, 2 vehicles on Highway 39 were struck by gunfire approximately 3 kilometers northwest of Weyburn. 44-year-old Tanya Myers was riding as a passenger in one of the vehicles. She was hit by one of the shots and died of her injuries shortly after. RCMP are looking to identify a person who used a debit card stolen from Rosetown. This is who police are trying to track down. RCMP say the debit card was taken from a vehicle in Rosetown between 10 p.m. September 19th and the morning of September 20th. It was then used at a gas station in Rosetown. The suspect was in a tan Silverado truck with a Saskatchewan license plate. He was also seen meeting with a person in a blue Nissan car with an Alberta license plate. RCMP are asking people to look at the vehicles and the suspect. If they recognize either, they are asked to contact Rosetown RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Saskatchewan's Serious Incident Response Team is investigating after a suspect was hit by a police vehicle in Yorkton. RCMP were called to a business last Wednesday where a person was throwing rocks at an employee and some dogs and then threatened someone with bear spray. The 2 suspects ran in different directions. One of the responding officers ran after one of them. Another pursued that suspect in a vehicle. During the pursuit, the suspect was hit by the RCMP cruiser and fell. He was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Both men are facing a string of charges in relation to the original call. Jeff, a lovely day out there again today.
A lovely day, a bit on the windy side at times, and that will certainly be, that's certainly the case yesterday and it was today. And it's going to be a bit windy tomorrow. It's also going to be a bit cooler, but not big time, because we are still going to be maintaining above seasonal temperatures. Maybe a bit of a wrinkle in terms of the overnight temperature, because in many places temperatures are getting to the low single digits, particularly up around Prince Albert, the Lakeland region. So there's a frost advisory in place. We'll talk about that later on. But yes, you will likely have to cover up some of the delicate vegetables and plants tonight. But right now, not a lot of active weather to speak of when we take a look at the satellite and radar shots. So we'll talk about the chilly conditions later on.
It's the end of an era in Saskatoon. After 56 years, the city sealed the fate of Marquis Downs by voting for its destruction. Keenan Sorokon reports.
They haven't paved paradise, but Marquis Downs is becoming a parking lot. City Council ended 5 years of neglect by approving Prairieland's plans to demolish the stands, the horse barns, and remove the racetrack so it can become a gravel parking lot instead.
We're doing it all in a month without any public consultation. What's the rush? Like, where's everybody going? Why do we need a parking lot so urgently?
Down the stretch they come, love that beat. Here's Charles the Bull. Now he's kicked in for the finals.
Marquis Downs opened in 1969 and hosted horse racing every weekend from May to September until COVID-19 canceled the 2020 season. That would end up being its last season of racing. A group looking to bring a professional soccer team to the city planned to use the grandstand as part of a $28 million stadium before soaring construction costs and inflation put the project out of reach. Tarasov wondered how in 2 years the grandstand went from being part of a new stadium build to becoming a useless structure in need of destruction.
Have some public engagement. A parking lot isn't urgently required.
But neither is any conversation with residents.
And there's nothing under the lease that would allow us to force Prairieland to have public consultation about this issue.
Now the historic track is filled with weeds after years of neglect, and the horse racing community said this in a statement to CTV News. It's a dagger through the heart of equine sport that the grandstand and track are being destroyed and reduced to a gravel parking lot. Shame on you, Prairieland. Council is expected to get an update from Prairieland Park sometime next year with new plans for the area. Keenan Sorakan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The NDP is accusing the provincial government of stacking the board of the Saskatchewan Health Authority with political operatives. The opposition says half of the 10-member board is comprised of people who have campaigned for the Saskatchewan Party. It says some board appointments go back several years. The NDP believes it would be more appropriate to appoint healthcare professionals to the board.
And I would add also that if you have someone that does have some experience in this area and that has also served as your campaign manager, they should not be put on the board, because people also need to have, there has to also be the appearance of independence, right? This is the SHA should be operating independent of government.
The government says it's been transparent about who serves on the board, pointing to healthcare metrics and its goal of improving access and outcomes for patients. Serving on the SHA board is part-time work, with the top position of chairperson paid $59,000 per year. A group of Saskatchewan community leaders was airlifted to a secret location today to take on medical and aviation challenges. As CTV's Stacey Hine tells us, it's all part of a fundraiser for STARS.
4, 5, 6. From practicing CPR to working on SOS signals, it's not a typical day for these Saskatchewan community leaders. The 5 participants are flown from the STARS base in Saskatoon to a secret location on the outskirts of town.
It was scary. It was exciting. It felt very meaningful that I was going to spend the day raising money for something that would make a big difference to people in our province.
The crew then participates in a series of challenges.
The ground is right through the middle of the page.
Here, they're dispatching calls, learning to work through distractions and prioritize resources. Later, a 3-legged race, responding to emergency scenarios. It's a first-hand look at STARS critical care operations.
We have leaders from the community come out and really spend a day in the life of the air medical crew, doing challenges to really understand kind of what our work is like in the field.
The crew is also raising money for the organization. Each person has to raise $50,000 to earn their flight home.
Fundraising is crucial to keeping STARS in the air, making up half of its annual operating budget.
One person saying the community is willing to support the cause.
STARS has impacted so many lives in Saskatchewan, in rural Saskatchewan, and it's really not a tough sell because everybody has seen the benefits of it.
STARS says its goal is to raise $400,000. And it appears everyone has earned their flight home. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's population hit a new all-time high in July. New figures from Stats Canada shows Saskatchewan's population as of July 1st was more than 1.26 million. The population growing by more than 2,400 people in the second quarter. Over the past year, Saskatchewan has continued to outpace the national growth rate, adding more than 19,000 people to its population in that time frame. Canada's total population now stands at more than 41.6 million. The University of Regina Students' Union will continue to exist for now after a meeting meant for discussing its dissolution was adjourned. As Sierra D'Souza Butts explains, students have voiced their concerns about the legitimacy of the vote to dissolve the union, leading the organization to press pause.
Frustrated with the process of trying to join remotely, Amanda Leader is one of hundreds of students who weren't able to access an online University of Regina Students' Union meeting on Wednesday.
I was able to listen to a friend's live feed, so from them being in the meeting, but that was it. I wasn't able to participate and vote or voice my concerns or anything like that.
During the meeting, more than 450 students who were able to join, raising their hands virtually, the majority asking URSU to adjourn the meeting meant to vote on a motion for the organization to dissolve.
This is unparliamentary. You are not allowing students their democratic right.
After changing the venue of its special general meeting twice before going the virtual route, people joined through a Teams meeting to cast their votes on the motion to dissolve. That vote didn't end up happening after students voiced their concerns over the meeting format and voting structure to URSU board members. Several students who spoke in the meeting also demanding a physical format for students to be able to cast their votes.
I don't think that they were planning this meeting or running this meeting in good faith. I think that they really were just trying to gloss over what students' concerns were, and we heard that a lot, and students really standing up for themselves and being like, no, you are going to hear what I'm saying today.
The concerns raised in the meeting layered on top of existing issues with the wording of the dissolution, which some students feel would unfairly resolve leadership of any accountability over what's happened to the organization in recent years. The meeting comes as the union remains under investigation for allegations of misappropriation of funds. URSU was also evicted from the U of R campus last month. After 2 hours of students expressing their frustration, URSU adjourned the meeting, but a new date has not been set. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
Some changes have been made to a Prince Albert intersection in hopes of making it safer for residents. As Jasmine Pelche tells us, there are some new updates at 1st Avenue West and 22nd Street.
The intersection of 1st Avenue West and 22nd Street in Prince Albert has recently had medians added to minimize collisions. Residents of the area have taken notice.
I've been hit there once in one of my trucks as well, trying to get across that intersection. It's probably should have had a four-way put there, something to control traffic. We got the same problem up by the daycare here at the end of this street.
Improvement to the intersection. It should slow down, or it slows down the traffic and hopefully minimize the number of accidents at the corner.
The upgrades were funded through the Provincial Traffic Safety Fund grant administered by SGI. SGI told CTV that these grants are awarded to communities twice a year using proceeds from photo speed enforcement.
I just want to share with citizens that, this was paid for through SGI and that taxpayers here in the city actually aren't taking on the burden of this project.
The $68,000 grant was awarded to the City of Prince Albert by the Photo Speed Enforcement Committee, which is made up of several interested partners from around the province.
When the city decided to do this intersection, they studied 9 years from 2013 to 2022, and there were 63 collisions. That resulted in 22 injuries. There was $800,000 worth of claims, and 78% of the collisions were due to right-hand turns.
This project included new medians, new pedestrian ramps, stop signs, no parking signs, crosswalks, and new paving. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Saskatchewan's newest millionaire was introduced to the public today. Hallie Mandrick now on the Outlook Resident with millions of reasons to smile.
When IVR went to grab a slushie, she was treated to a big surprise.
I took it up there and he rang it through and I said, just take the slush out of that. And he just jumped back and he was shaking. I was shaking when he told me. It's just like, so I said, I'll be right back. I got to go home. So I went home. showed Mike the ticket, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, "Are you rich?" He said, "Where's my slush?"
The Outlook resident will be taking home $5 million thanks to a Lotto 649 draw made earlier this month. Ivy purchased the ticket in Whitecap while on her way to take her dog Lady to the groomers.
Well, I'll be out of debt for the first time in my life. I mean, really, and it just, I don't know, it's too, I'm still overwhelmed. I still can't quite believe it. But yeah, it's gonna make a big impact.
Sask Lotteries has been the main fundraiser for more than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups across the province. According to the organization, Sask Lotteries has provided more than $1.4 billion in community support throughout its more than 50 years of operation. As for how Ivy plans to spend her millions, she's thinking of some home improvements and a reward for Lady.
We're going to finish up the renovations in the house, and she might get a new bed, maybe. She's got about 3 beds at home now.
In addition to a very large check, Saskatchewan Lotteries gifted Ivy a slushie maker, so she never needs to worry about forgetting to pick one up again. Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still to come, RCMP get a new look for the first time in years. Also, Jimmy Kimmel back on the air, what he said to his audience less than a week after being suspended. You're watching CTV News live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us tonight. In a forum built to pursue peace, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked for continuing support from the members of the United Nations to defend itself against Russia. It comes one day after U.S. President Donald Trump's remarkable U-turn when he said he believed Ukraine could win the war. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
We are now living through the most destructive arms race in human history.
Even as Ukraine's president warned about the escalating dangers of unchecked AI-controlled drones, Volodymyr Zelensky said the less advanced version of the weapons was enabling his country to hold back Moscow's might.
Ukraine doesn't have the big fat missiles dictators love to show off in parades, but we do have drones that can fly up to 2,000-3,000 kilometers.
Zelensky cited success in destroying Russian assets in the Black Sea and key infrastructure. His comments come as the American president takes a harsher tone toward the Kremlin. In the past week, Russian drones and fighter jets have flown into the airspace of Poland and Estonia, NATO members.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do. After Tuesday's face-to-face, Donald Trump made a remarkable U-turn. He posted on social media that after getting to understand the Ukraine-Russia military-economic situation, he now believes Ukraine can win back all of its territory. Previously, Trump had said ending the war would require Ukraine giving up territory it had lost. The prime minister said that Vladimir Putin had proven he could not be trusted.
The president, however, has made very sincere and multiple efforts to try to establish peace. He has used his long-standing relationship with President Putin in those efforts to try to establish peace, and Putin has failed on every occasion, every opportunity.
Trump has called on nations to put secondary sanctions on countries that buy Russian oil. Prime Minister Mark Carney said G7 countries are discussing such economic measures to put additional pressure on Putin to end the war. Judy Trin, CTV News, New York.
The Supreme Court of Canada has delayed the killing of hundreds of ostriches at a farm in BC. The cull will remain on hold until the High Court considers an application for leave to appeal. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been on the farm in the West Kootenay region of BC for days, preparing for the cull of nearly 400 birds. The CFIA will remain there, maintaining custody of the ostriches until the ruling is made. The cull order was given shortly after avian flu was detected in the flock last December. Tensions have been mounting at the farm, and overnight, a hay wall was set on fire. 2 people were killed and 1 was left in critical condition after a shooting this morning at an immigration facility in Texas.
This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Early evidence that we've seen
from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
FBI Director Kash Patel shared an image of bullet casings with the words anti-ICE written on one of them. ICE is short for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency has been at the forefront of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Although the people killed in today's shootings were migrants, Texas Senator Ted Cruz tied the incident to the way some critics have targeted immigration officials directly. Health Canada is joining the list of agencies pushing back against Trump administration claims that link Tylenol to autism. Health Canada says there is no conclusive evidence that using acetaminophen during pregnancy causes autism. Acetaminophen is the active ingredient in Tylenol. It's recommended to treat pain or fever in pregnant women. Health Canada says it has been safely used by millions for decades, including during pregnancy. The European Medicines Agency and World Health Organization have also disputed Trump's claims. For the first time in 30 years, RCMP officers are getting an update to their uniform shirts. The service says it's working to modernize the uniforms worn by its members and will be rolling out these new navy blue shirts on a province-by-province basis starting in Prince Edward Island next month. The RCMP says the process will take 18 months or so. Officers will then still be wearing the original gray shirts for a while until they are all available. After a week-long suspension, late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air. As CTV's Andrea Case reports, he was defiant, apologetic, and at times emotional. And while the ratings aren't in yet, his return has been viewed more than 15 million times on his YouTube channel.
Last night, when Jimmy Kimmel returned to the show that bears his name...
Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted...
He did so with a nod to the original night show host, Jack Parr, who in 1960 walked off the set after NBC censors cut a joke he had told. Parr returned a month later with these words.
As I was saying before I was interrupted...
Kimmel, who was suspended last week, didn't have to wait that long.
I understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
The suspension came after backlash over his comments on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. He had these words for Kirk's widow.
On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow.
Approximately 20% of U.S. networks are still not airing Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Tonight, I'm back, and I missed you.
Owned by Nexstar and Sinclair, including those in Washington, D.C., Seattle, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Syracuse, New York.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Canadian singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, who signed a joint letter with 400 other celebrities in support of Kimmel's return, was the musical guest.
A lot of people have been asking me if there are conditions for my return to the air, and there is one. Disney has asked me to read the following statement.
And what would a Tonight Show monologue be without poking fun at the situation?
To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account.
He had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
All right, Jeff, as we were saying earlier, another beautiful day today. A touch windy, but, you know, it could be worse, right?
It just most certainly could. And we have a bit of a windy day and sort of more. Temperatures are going to be a bit cooler and then a bit of a drop off on Friday, but a bounce back on the weekend. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at some numbers together. Let's take a look at our numbers right now. Current temperature in Saskatoon, 20 degrees. A little cooler in Prince Albert and the Battleford, just 18 in those two communities. But look at these winds, fairly strong right now. Winds out of the north at 32 clicks for Saskatoon and close to that in Prince Albert. Not quite as windy, but still on the moderate side in the Battlefords. Saskatoon's almanac for today, well, there you go. Chantel was speaking about this earlier on. 25 degrees for a daytime high. That is 9 degrees above seasonal, but the record temperature, 33 degrees. Yes, second day in a row that it's from 2009, so warm temperatures there. Back in 2009, -6, the cold temperature record from both 1947 and 1951. The sun came up at 6:56. It's going to go down at 1 minute after 7.
Coming up, rewarding life-saving efforts, how one pup is being credited with some heroic efforts keeping his owner alive.
We know this province is full of talent, but can they teach? Thursday on Your Morning, we're going to find out if Jeremy Dodge has what it takes to play the bagpipes.
All right, let's take a look through the live lens of Skycam. Big blue sky, hardly any clouds out there at all, and it has been another day under a big high pressure area, so that's keeping the clouds away. And relatively warm conditions, a little cooler in some spots, and we are getting much colder overnight. There's going to be a big drop in temperatures. We'll talk about that in a second or two, but let's bring up the satellite and radar shot here. And not a lot of active weather to speak of, a little something sliding through parts of northern Saskatchewan, but really not impacting our province in a big way. Keeping our eye on this big atmospheric river impacting parts of the north coast and central coast of BC. Some of that moisture may make its way towards Saskatchewan. We'll talk about that in a second or two. Here we go, 20 degrees in Saskatoon, 18 in Prince Albert and the Battlefords. On to our hot spot. That was a very warm 32 degrees in Moose Jaw today. The cold spot, 30 degrees colder than Moose Jaw. Stony Rapids at 2. Around the province we go. Current temperatures 14 right now in Lloydminster, 20 in Swift Current, 27 in Moose Jaw and Yorkton, 28 in Regina, and Estevan checking in at 26 degrees. In central parts of the province, temperatures ranging from a somewhat chilly 14 degrees in a few communities up to 26. That's in Hudson Bay. It's 19 in Kindersley, 22 in Wynyard. Up north, well, no single-digit temperatures, but certainly in the low teens for many locations. Sandy Bay, Island Falls at 11 degrees. It does jump up to 15 in Buffalo Narrows. It's 14 in Stony Rapids. Down south, most locations, in fact, all the locations on this part of our map are in the 20s, but it is as cool as 20 in Leader, but as warm as 29 in Weyburn. So a jump up there. I guess East End in at 20 as well. But towards the eastern side of the province is where it gets warmer. And South Central is relatively warm, too. Keeping our eye on what's going on in BC. Some of that moisture, as I say, slinking across the Rockies into parts of northern Alberta. It may be on the way to northern Saskatchewan eventually. But what we have now are the chance of some strong winds as we roll into tomorrow. So keep your eye on those areas etched in blue. There are frost advisories in place for a large portion of our viewing area, including Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and the Battlefords. So some cold conditions are in place for many parts of Saskatchewan, so you'll have to cover up those delicate plants and vegetables. Temperatures of around 17 degrees in northern Saskatchewan on Thursday. A little close to that in Meadow Lake and Spearwood, but warmer than that in Kindersley and Rosetown. Kindersley sunny and 24, 1 degree cooler with sunshine in Rosetown. Big time sunshine in the southwest with temperatures of 26 in Maple Creek and Leader, 22 in Outlook, Swift Current 24. A little cooler in the southeast, but lots of sunshine. And for east central Saskatchewan, temperatures around 20 degrees with so it's not bad conditions at all. Fog patches and frost showing up in the Battlefords tonight because temperatures are dropping to 0 degrees. 21 degrees tomorrow for a high. 17 with a very good chance of showers on Friday, but back into the 20s starting on Saturday and back and then a 19 1 week from today. 1 degree for Prince Albert overnight, mainly sunny skies tomorrow. 19 degrees. 20 degrees. Good chance of showers on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, 21 degrees and 23 degrees on Monday and Tuesday, 21 on Wednesday. Saskatoon's overnight temperature 2, so some patchy frost is anticipated. Tomorrow, a bit of a breezy day with a high of 21 and then 18 on Friday. Still windy. 22 on Saturday, Sunday 23, and Tuesday for our National Truth and Reconciliation Day, mainly cloudy and 25.
There's nothing left to do now but live.
Fire bad. Christian Bale is set to portray the legendary monster Frankenstein in the new film, The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal directs the latest take on Mary Shelley's creature, which sees Jesse Buckley playing his titular companion. The Bride will scare audiences in 2023. Or will it seem provocative? There we go. Maybe it won't scare us. It'll be provocative. Movie theaters across... Yeah, movie theaters across the country getting ready to host mobs of Swifties next week as the official release party for her new album, Life of a Showgirl, airs for a limited run. The party will feature Swift's never-before-seen reflections on her new album. The show will be in theaters October 3rd to 5th in Saskatoon. You can be a part of the action by taking in the movie at both Cineplex and Landmark Cinemas.
You can't resist this.
Who could?
You know who could.
Wicked fans are preparing for a second edition. A new trailer is out for Wicked 2. Wicked for Good brings viewers back to Oz. It tells the rest of the story of the original musical as the two witches played by Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande find themselves on opposite sides of a fight for the land's future. Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh, and Jeff Goldblum also make their returns. Wicked for Good hits theaters November 21st.
All right, Jeff, you have a bit of a blue and yellow theme in today's pick of the day.
We certainly do. We're going to start off with this particular blue picture. Well, hints of blue here. This is from Robin Holmes, president of the Saskatchewan Deaf Association. KW Nasser Plaza here in Saskatoon. And I'm paraphrasing what she said. These blue lights were lit in honor of the International Blue Light Campaign, showing support for deaf communities. This is International Week of Deaf Peoples. Yesterday was International Day of Sign Languages. For more information, you can go to Saskatchewan Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service. So it's a lovely shot there of downtown Saskatoon. This one comes to us from Lorna, a blue heron. Lorna writes, this was taken at Kippabiska Lake a few days ago. Looks like he was up in the tree trying to get some cool breeze. Wow, it's a great shot there of a heron. This one from Carol, Sleepy Bee. The Sleepy Bee after a very cool night, taken 6:45 a.m. on September 23rd. Yeah, it could be a very cool night for the bees tonight. And finally from Marianne, harvesting in Purdue. That is a great shot. And yes, harvest is well underway. And I'm not sure if it depends on what you're harvesting, but I know there's lots of farmers still out in the field. And if you'd like to share an image with us, you can do so by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca.
Still to come on CTV News, a startling encounter for one Alberta man, how his dog's heroic efforts helped to save his life.
Your morning just got a little brighter. Start your day with CTV Your Morning, and you could win $20,000. For your chance to win, watch CTV Your Morning Saskatchewan, weekday mornings 6 to 9.
An Alberta dog is being hailed as a hero after saving his owner from a grizzly bear attack. The 10-year-old Doberman swept into action while out on a hiking trail last spring, putting himself between the man and a charging bear. Mark Villani has more on why the dog is being recognized nationally.
Craig Campbell and his dog Knight are inseparable, but in May of 2024, that almost changed in the shock of their lives.
And I said to myself, I'm about to die.
Campbell was hiking along this trail northwest of Cochrane, a quiet wooded area bordered by nearby farms, when suddenly he came face to face with a grizzly sow and its two cubs.
She came racing out of the bush at full speed. Everything was silent, really, except for the huffing of the bear, which was so loud.
Struggling to reach his bear spray, Campbell's 10-year-old Doberman sprang into action, leaping in front of the animal that stood more than 2 meters tall on its back legs.
Giving me time to get my bear spray out, at which point I said to myself over and over, I'm going to live, I'm going to live, I'm going to live.
The bear dropped down from its legs and returned to its cubs. The life-saving act of heroism now being recognized nationally. Knight was inducted into the Purina Animal Hall of Fame.
Pets are not just pets, they are family members. And they do these beautiful, courageous, heroic acts.
I knew I had a good dog, but it's a nice recognition.
Despite the honor, there are lessons to be learned about interactions between bears and unleashed dogs.
It generally leads to a negative encounter, not a positive one.
It's why wildlife educators encourage hikers to travel in groups and keep pets close.
And that way you've got the person who has the dog, they can keep a hold of them, keep control of them, while the the other people are there able to get out their bear spray, prepared to do what they've got to do to try to get out of the situation.
But Campbell says he's grateful to be alive, now living the quiet life on Prince Edward Island with Knight. Still, he's crediting years of dog training and an unbreakable bond with man's best friend.
The best dog is the dog you have in front of you.
Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
When we come back, more analysis over changes coming to the CFL, and later a Halloween attraction fit for a queen.
All right, let's take a look and see what the rural forecast shows us. And it shows us the temperatures are remaining above seasonal. Many of these locations, Spearwood, Meadow Lake, the typical daytime highs for this time of year are around 14 degrees. So certainly these numbers are warmer than seasonal. 21 for Lloydminster, 24 for Kindersley, 22 for Outlook, 19 for Melfort, as well for Hudson Bay and Wynyard. And then as we take a look down south, well, look at these temperatures. Everybody, not quite everybody, but most locations in the 20 degrees or warmer situation. 26 in Leader and Maple Creek, 22 in Rockland, 23 in Cornack, but dropping down into the teens, but just Kenora, Broadview, and Carlisle all in at 19 degrees. How about Radville? Well, Radville, 22 degrees, lots of sunshine, and the wind's sort of shifting around a little bit, but not a really particularly windy day for Radville and area. Winds out of the east 10 and then changing over to southeast at 20, so not too bad at all. And of course, Radville is one of the many communities where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
Wes Cates is in for another edition of X's and O's. Wes, we'll quickly talk about the big news of the week. On Monday, the CFL announcing some changes coming 26, 27. Sidelines, you can't have teams on the same sidelines. The Rouge is changing. It has to stay in the end zone for a point if it sails right through, like how the Riders lost 1 game last year because of that. 0 points on that. The uprights are moving to the back of the end zone in 2027, 100-yard fields in 2027, and 15-yard end zones in 2027. So as a former CFL player, what are your thoughts on these moves?
I'm like, it might be a little too much. I mean, all those rules, I could see where they might hurt or benefit the game. I mean, you talk about, what was the first couple? I know the
sidelines.
Yeah, the sidelines make sense because it's always annoying to have to run from one field to the other when you're on the same sideline. And you kind of have to. It's just too close, too much going on, and we've seen from a couple of little skirmishes that it's not. It's not great for players to be in kind of that proximity to each other. And then, you look at the Rouge. I can see the Rouge. That makes sense because, like the kickoff, it has to stay in the end zone. So that definitely helps give the opposing team a chance to negate your Rouge attempt, right? So if it's, you get close, but then you can just boot it out the end zone to win by a single without even really having to put it through the uprights. I think that does make sense to give the opposing team a chance to bring it out. Now, you talk about changing the field, putting the field goes to the back of the end zone. I mean, you're talking about 20-yard end zones. I guess we are talking about shortening them to 15, which would help with that. But, man, you're almost taking the kicking game out of it. That end zone, that 15 yards is a lot. So now you're talking about in the CFL where you typically see guys around the 50 or maybe even midfield still able to attempt a kick. Now, no, you're talking about the 30. You know what I mean? Or 40. Like, once it hits the 40, it's like, no, we can't make this. So I think that might, it would bring the scores down, and it might make teams go for it more. But and it's a lot better for punters, too. A lot more coffin corner kicks, I guess. Yeah. But, it's just going to be tricky. It's just going to be hard to envision all those rules coming in. But I do see how they might be able to help the game a bit.
Well, if you ask Riders back in the 2019 if they wanted the uprights moved to the back of the end zone, Cody Fajardo would definitely say, yeah. Remember the doink? Yeah. All right, let's move into the game. It's the Elks versus the Riders in Edmonton this week. Riders, they win, they get a home playoff game. It's as simple as that. Offensively for the Riders, they got to get this passing attack going. Trevor Harris, last 4 games, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and has not thrown for over 300 yards.
Yeah, I think right now the Riders are still sitting okay, Lee. We all know that. But at the same time, you want to see this team playing aggressively, playing strong, and really just dominating teams, which obviously hasn't been happening. You lose one to Montreal. This last couple of weeks in the CFL has been crazy. The mid-level teams have been putting a smackdown on the top-tier teams, and then some of these bottom teams have been battling out and trying to stay in the hunt. So it's good for the CFL overall. But if you're talking about being a Rider fan, you want to see the Riders be more consistent and just be able to move the ball. Defense is still playing pretty solid, but yeah. I think Mark Mueller needs to get more creative with his play calls, move his receivers around a bit more. You know, you always feel like if you have great athletes, you can win one-on-ones, but you got to be creative as a coach and help your guys get into positions to win instead of just, you know, letting them go up, line up, and the defense knows exactly what they're running, yet they're still supposed to win and find ways to be creative on their own to get open, and that's not as easy to do against some of these great athletes that they're going against.
Calgary, with their loss last week against BC, they're in a position where they're going to Montreal. They've got some quarterback injuries. The Riders, if they can get a win and Calgary loses, they could be getting extremely close to hosting the Western Final. We'll analyze that game in Edmonton and look forward to next week on another edition of X's and O's.
There are reports Washington wants to invest in another company, one that is Canadian. Marilla Fernandez explains.
The U.S. could take a stake in a Canadian mining company operating in the U.S. Lithium Americas is developing a copper mine in Nevada. The company's in the process of renegotiating a $2.3 billion U.S. loan from the U.S. Energy Department. As part of that, Washington may be considering taking a 10% stake in the company, like it recently did with Intel. Here's a look at how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar down to $71.95. West Texas Intermediate up $1.40 to $64.81. Western Canadian Select is up over $1 to $51.70, and the TSX is down 58 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Turning to local gas prices now, the average price in Saskatoon currently $1.34 a liter. That is holding steady. The lowest price in town, $1.24.9. On Saskatchewan markets, Cameco dropped $4.81 today, and Nutrien finished the day at $82.09. Coming up, what's in a name? The top choices are released. And rolling out the red carpet for Halloween lovers.
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the Beauty Bar.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV, starting at 7 with The Floor. Well, Statistics Canada has released its list of the most popular names for girls and boys. For the 9th year running, Olivia is the most popular name for girls, while Noah tops the list for boys for the 4th straight year. Runners-up were Liam and Charlotte. Sophia with a PH and Sophia with an F came in separately in 5th and 6th. If combined, that name would actually topple Olivia's reign as most popular. I checked, no Jeffs or Chantels in the top 10s, so.
That's the way it goes.
Maybe next year.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
That's true.
You know?
Nothing wrong with Noah and Olivia,
No,
right?
exactly. Those are lovely names.
They are.
Lovely names, yeah.
All right, well, an Edmonton family is once again going the extra mile for Halloween. Dave Awanek is busy building this latest Halloween creation, a haunted castle now sits on his front lawn, made entirely of wooden pallets. Now, this was 2 years ago. The family created a detailed pirate ship, attracting hundreds of people to come by and check it out. This year, the Awaneks wanted to go bigger and better, and I think they're well on their way. The castle walls are 8 feet high, and the structure itself is around 23 feet long. So that's pretty incredible.
That's very cool. I understand they'll be recreating some scenes from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. We'll have to see. I think it's still under construction.
Sure they will. Sure they will. Anyhow, let's take a look and see what our numbers look like for tomorrow. We've got ourselves another warm day, but it is going to be not quite as warm as it was today. Our daytime high basically around 20 degrees. Lots of sunshine, though, and it won't be particularly windy for our area. Some other parts of the province, it will be a bit on the breezy side. But look at that, 19 degrees by 5 o'clock. So all in all, not too bad.
Are you coming up with these headings for your new boards?
Yes, I am.
Or dies?
Exactly.
Okay. Can't wait for Friday then.
Try my best to be provocative.
Okay, well, I can't wait for tomorrow's saying. You're coming up with new ones every day, right?
Hey, too much pressure already.
Weekly? Monthly? Okay.
I'll try.
We'll think about it. Thanks for watching.